Safe to Serve family, this is the introduction to this potent life and death message. As Christ said, you'll hear of wars and rumors of wars. And in that context, the next war is going to be against God's commandment-keeping people. Am I ready for this coming crisis? Are you ready for this coming crisis? Have we begun to implement the 5 keys of survival? Watch this. This is a life-changing experience.
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
Iran's formerly Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation.
First thing you can do, in my view, to a military member or a unit is to not finish the job. We can't let our enemies believe that we're unable to pay a price for our freedom and our security. So I know the fallen would want us to continue. I know their comrades are ready to get back in the fight. We'll never be safe if our enemies believe we cannot take casualties or risk. Finish this job.
I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, and police to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty.
We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it.
So here's my theory, though. If you go back to 9/11, and when Wesley Clark said we're gonna invade 7 countries in 5 years, what you were talking about were the countries where those central banks were not on board to do programmable money. You can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran is, and the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil, feeding China gives China greater independence.
Safe to Serve family, greetings, salutations. Welcome to this midday power surge. Of course, it's your spiritual oasis on this pilgrim journey. I'm your host, Andrew Henriquez. Beloved, I'm so glad today that we're alive and we are seeing the fast fulfillment of end-time prophecies. Secondly, I want to thank the Lord for his inspiration. As I've been praying, studying, watching history and current events, the Lord showed me that Iran would fall next. Now, of course, this war is fluid. Things can go left, things can go right. But as it stands, the supreme leader of Iran is dead. That movement and government has been shaken to its core. They have bowed the knee to modern-day Babylon and her allies. And the media has recorded this. January 5th, January 6th, January 8th, January 12th, January 13th. I covered this. Cuba, Venezuela, Iran. If you look at these thumbnails, go find the videos. God showed me this would take place. And friends, I'm not calling myself a prophet. I'm neither a prophet. I'm simply following God's word and watching history and realizing what comes next. These are signs of the last days. And friends, before I get into the crux of the matter today, the nuts and bolts, I want to say this. I want you all to understand the theme of this midday power surge. Number one, Bible history must be repeated, and end-time prophecies must be fulfilled. I was saying to my wife this morning, I spent hours in prayer and study to pull together all the materials I'm going to share with you today. And after putting the pieces on the proverbial table, half of it is not in this keynote lesson today, half of it. Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. But what you are going to get today is going to be a life-changing presentation for the better. Beloved, in the scriptures, God providentially raised up ancient Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar. And God used Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon to punish nations, overthrow nations, and Babylon became a world superpower. Number two, I want to make sure everything is succinctly stated, because this is all about conviction and persuasion, not just information. I'm going to share with you what the talking heads on the media, MSM media, and alternative media cannot share with you. They don't understand the end-time prophecies from the Bible and the spirit of prophecy. Number two, Babylon in the past had a civil arm, military, and a religious arm. Did Nebuchadnezzar force people to worship? Daniel 3, yes. It had a civil arm, military, as well as a religious arm. Did Babylon besiege Jerusalem? Yes. Chapter 1 of Daniel. Military and religious. Watch carefully. Point 3. Who is Babylon in the last days? Babylon in the last days is the papacy primarily. Revelation 17, verse 1 through verse 6. Chapter 18 of Revelation, verse 2, all the way through the whole chapter. Babylon, the papacy. But Babylon in the last days, the papacy, does not have a military arm. Okay. Point 4. So who does the Bible say Babylon, the papacy, will use as its military arm to overthrow nations and to return the papacy to world dominion, because the papacy wants to rule the world between 538 AD and 1798. That country's military, firstly, is the United States of America. That's it. That's it. Point number 5. We saw that Babylon in the past besieged nations. That means the nations could not buy, could not sell. Babylon cut off their resources to get them to bow to Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. Okay? Point number 6. What is America now doing? Laying siege among nations to cut off their resources to get them to bow to America, and by extension, bow to the Vatican. And this is what the war was over in Venezuela. Because America, the Vatican, despises China. Oh, friends, watch this. Watch this. This is what the war is over when America overthrew Iran. Because both Venezuela and Iran support China with oil, and countries run on oil. That's it. To weaken China. Economically, weaken China. Militarily. So America will remain the world's sole superpower. Cannot be refuted. And my friends, watch carefully. We saw earlier in 1989, 1991, the Vatican used America's military to overthrow the former Soviet Union during the Cold War. You watch this today, my friends. You watch this. Number 7, based on end-time prophecy, the mark of the beast will be enforced. Sunday worship by law in every nation. Beloved, do you realize that China is one of a handful of nations where the Vatican has no control? You watch what I'm going to prove today. China and the other 4 nations or so don't compare economically or militarily to China. So China is that sitting duck. China has the bull's eye on its back. China is a communist regime. China has to fall. That's it. The Sunday law must go there. China has to fall. And that is what this war is all about. Now, I'm not going to oversimplify the war, but I'm giving you a perspective today. Sabbath morning, I gave you the mark of the beast perspective. Sabbath evening, I gave you the economic, financial angle. Today is the China angle. Watch this, my friends. Point number 8. This is a fulfillment of Daniel chapter 11, verse 40 and verse 41. My friends, are you ready for this now? Save to Serve live. I want you all to engage with the content. I'll come to the comment section shortly. Let's get into it now. Ready, my friends? Let's go.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead.
Mercy. And now Trump says that 3 servicemen from America are also dead.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself.
Enough of that. Beloved, I want to say this. I cannot overlook the words that we are waging a righteous war. The words of Trump. STS Live. Do you recall any previous warfare where the media, the president, and the Pope dubbed that war a spiritual war, a righteous war, a religious war? If you recall that warfare, give it to me in the comment section. Beloved, that was in the time when Reagan said, Gorbachev, tear down this wall. When the Pope, John Paul II, Ronald Reagan, then president, overthrew the communist empire. That war continues today. That's why China has to fall. Here is Trump, my friend, speaking about surrender or face certain death.
I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military and police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty.
I believe that one of these days, Richard, we need to honor that opportunity and have a conversation with Catherine Austin Fitts. Because, friends, Catherine Austin Fitts on Tucker Carlson just a few days ago, 2 days ago, sat down with Carlson and almost word for word what I shared from January 5th, the 6th, the 8th, the 12th, the 13th, she repeated. Here is this section. Watch carefully here. Catherine Austin Fitts is going to retell the account from Wesley Clark, an Army general here in the U.S. Listen what he said, and I'll give you her words with Mr. Carlson.
So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said,
okay, enough of that. And here is Catherine Austin Fitts. And you can look at her resume that she is qualified to address these points. Listen what she said on Tucker Carlson, making various statements. And she is going to give us a perspective. And that perspective is Iran had to go because the Iran's central bank was not in lockstep with the tyrant's policy of rolling out a digital-only payment society. Iran was not for that. So Iran had to go. That is the economic side. What I'm saying to you is, based on end-time prophecy, Iran had to go because Iran supports and give resources to keep China afloat. The target is China, communist China. Communism has to fall because communism took down the papacy in 1798 in France. Are we together now? So this is retaliation. All right. Don't forget that. I'll come back to it. So here is the perspective from Catherine Austin Fitts.
So here's my theory, though. If you go back to 9/11, and when Wesley Clark said we're gonna invade 7 countries in 5 years, what you were talking about were the countries where those central banks were not on board to do programmable money. And their governance structures were not on board with essentially, because of Epstein, I'll call it the Rockefeller Rothschild model. There was an effort to say, okay, we're going to basically assert control of the central banks in those countries. That's my interpretation. And I think one of the reasons we're seeing so much tension around Iran is because Iran right now is the big leakage in the system.
How?
I'm so glad that what is said is recorded. I played those clips from January 5th, telling you what was coming, and Catherine Austin Fitts came back afterwards and nailed it. Iran is a problem, a leak in the system. And now she'll tell you that China, not only Iran, but China wants to be independent with its own system and governance. It doesn't want to be dictated to. And I wonder, which country wants to control China? Beloved, it's not America. The chief country is the Vatican. I'm going to prove that shortly. You see this midday power surge? You see this midday power surge, you watch this. Catherine Austin Fitz. Continue.
No. So, well, you know, Iran's central bank counts. One of the reasons it counts is because their oil and energy is very important, including for China.
Yeah.
And that's very important in the BRICS system. What the BRICS system is trying to do is to create independent payment systems. But if you're going to come out with programmable money, with digital IDs that are interoperable globally and programmable money that controls in each jurisdiction centrally, you can't afford leakage. And so you've got way too much leakage in the system to proceed with what they're trying to do. And Iran is, and the BRIC nations are a sticking point. And certainly Iran's oil, you know, feeding China gives China greater independence.
That's it. That is as clear as day. I see people in the comment section asking, is it Israel? Is it Israel? Pastor, what about Israel? Let me say this to you, friends. Whenever the media is pushing a particular narrative, a smoke screen. What does the Bible say? Does the Bible say Israel will be attempting to control nations? What text say that? What text say Israel is going to attempt to control nations and enslave the world? What text say that? Come on, friends. What text say that? We are Bible-believing Christians. We are Bible prophetic students. We aren't news prediction students. It's the Vatican. Am I saying there is no link to Israel? I'm not saying that. But that's low-hanging fruit. That's simply the front person. Look over here, while the woman is behind the curtain. Look over here, while that harlot woman is behind the curtain. Come on, friends, wake up. All right? It's the Vatican. It's the papacy. Watch carefully.
So you think that one of the motives behind toppling all these governments was the creation of the control grid we're talking about now?
Right. So if you go back, so you had the wonderful Richard Warner on your show.
Yeah.
And Richard has a book called The Princes of the Yen, which is about the sort of effort to take over the Japanese central bank. And I think what you're looking at, I think part of the state of play with both Russia and Iran is how are you going to make sure that those central banks are entirely in the system?
So
how are you going to make sure that they're all on board, especially China is on board? Beloved, if you can, I want you all to Google this. Which nation is more powerful economically? China or Russia? China or Russia? Hands down. China, far more superior financially than Russia. So when we speak about the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, which nation is that glue? Which one? It is China. So if China is crippled, maimed, yeah, what happens? BRICS fall. And America's dollar, whether it is the fiat currency or what they will roll out next, digital currency, it remains the world's reserve currency. That's it. So financially, militarily, America remains the world's superpower. And the Vatican must have it so. That's it. That's it. Don't be deceived by mainstream media and the folks on X. Do not be distracted. We are Bible-believing Christians. We are Bible prophetic students. Everybody watch carefully. And that's why inspiration told us to watch these nations. India, China, and Russia. And they comprise the BRIC nations. In this segment, I am going to put flesh on the skeleton and to confirm what I said in my opening remarks about Babylon in the past and Babylon in the last days. Who controls the energy? Controls whole nations and continents. Energy. Mercy. Energy. That's oil. And that's why Trump said the climate agreement from Paris, the UN, it's a scam. To remain the world's superpower, America must control oil. If you join on to the Paris Climate Accord, you have to abandon fossil fuel. I covered that last Sabbath evening. I'm not going down that path right now. On the screen.
Looking forward, rapid.
Listen carefully.
Looking forward, rapid changes are taking place in the global monetary system that may affect the international role of the dollar in the future. Most major economies already have or are in the process of developing instant 24/7 payments. Our own FedNow service will be coming online in 2023. And in light of the tremendous growth in crypto assets and stablecoins, we are examining whether a U.S. central bank digital currency would improve upon what is an already safe and efficient domestic payment system. As our white paper on this topic notes, a U.S. CBDC could also potentially help maintain the dollar's international standing.
That's it.
Look,
and that's why this article says, notice, China is endangering the U.S. position as the world's reserve currency. Open your eyes, my friends. And that's why Iran had to be taken out to weaken China. So that's end time prophecy. For the mark of the beast to be enforced, the Vatican must return toward dominance. It is America who does that. But America can't unless it becomes and remain the world's sole only superpower. That's it. So any other threat to America's standing has to be put down. So America is not going to launch a direct attack against China. Let's lay siege around China. That's it. Where does China get resources to operate? Okay, Venezuela, take them down. Iran, cut them down. That's it. It's a siege. Lord have mercy upon our souls. It's a siege. On the screen right there. That's your scripture where God raised up Nebuchadnezzar to be the world's sole superpower. And Nebuchadnezzar was to control nations. That's Babylon. And in that scripture, it's confirmed it was God who gave Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, its world's superpower. And today, who is modern Babylon? It's the papacy. But the papacy has no standing army or military. Nebuchadnezzar had two arms, religious and military. Modern Babylon, the papacy, doesn't have a military arm. So based on end time prophecy, which country will give her that military might? It is America.
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
One more time.
I am the chosen one.
That's it. Just as Nebuchadnezzar could say, I am the chosen one. I'm the chosen one. God gave me this nation to control all other nations. Nebuchadnezzar, President Trump. What a powerful, biblical, correct application. And based on the Cold War, nobody can refute this. John Paul II used America's military to overthrow the former Soviet Union. Not one sane, sensible person can refute that. Time magazine, to confirm this. It's on the screen right there, friends. It was a spiritual war, blue words. Communism, atheism has to fall. The Tsar, the king of the South, chapter 11 of Daniel, verse 40 and verse 41 was fulfilled, and it continues to be fulfilled. It's on the screen right there. Military might has to fall. It's right there, friends. Red words underlined. It was the moral, economic, political, military pressure by the Pope and America's president that took down communism. Nobody can refute that. Clear as day, my friends. And the mark of the beast will be enforced. Every nation must receive that mark of the beast. But which nation has spurned, rejected the Vatican? There are a handful, which I'll get to. But there's one who stands supreme in the handful, and that is China. This is the main reason, the premier reason why Iran had to fall. Do you know how many hours I prayed over this? To source materials to confirm this based on the Bible, history, and current events. You see this midday power surge? You watch this.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
All right.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Let's move on.
I am the chosen one.
All right.
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
Listen.
My life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Safe to Serve Live. I haven't forgotten you. In Bible times, who once said similar words? I'm going to make this place great. Who once said those words? Talk to me in the comment section. Who once said those words? Nebuchadnezzar, Renee. Bowen. Of course. Chantavia. Nebuchadnezzar. What a connection. There it is. Chapter 4 of Daniel. Is this not great Babylon? Great America? As if, my friends, out of all the slogans President Trump could have used, why that slogan? Do you really believe things are done accidentally? Okay, Safe to Serve Live. I'm going to challenge you again. Do you recall anyone in the Bible that was going to speak some words, yet God said, the words I give you, you will speak them? But that so-called person had previously rejected God. Who comes to your mind? Let me give you a hint. All right, you all don't need a hint. It's in the comment section. Jonathan. Yeah, Claudine. Oscar. It's Balaam. We take nothing accidentally. Let's make America great again. Those are similar words as did Nebuchadnezzar. Continue. Yes. Listen again.
I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that.
Yes, because, again, it is a chorus. President Trump is modern-day Nebuchadnezzar on the military side, not chiefly on the side of religion. Later on, yes. But right now, he is the military arm of the Vatican, modern Babylon, to lay siege among nations, control nations, so the Vatican can rule in those nations.
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
The amount of times I've played that clip, by now, you know what that means. It's one of my new hobbies to roll that clip. And here is Trump confirming, like Nebuchadnezzar, who had the world's most powerful military. Why do you think over and over again Trump is saying that? Friends, pause right there. Is it just in 2016 America had a powerful military? No. Which other president in the last 40 years kept on saying America has the most powerful military? Beloved, I Googled it. I asked ChatGPT. Not one, but Trump.
Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But
read between the lines. It's the first I'm hearing Trump now saying America is the richest. Wait a minute. Every previous video clip before him overthrowing Iran, he never merged those two together. Military and the wealthiest, the richest, never. If you have those clips, send those to me. I can't find one. But once he overthrew Iran, he knows the prime target is China. Financially, China is the threat. So now he can boastfully say, puffing his chest, braggadocious man, we are now the richest, strongest military.
the United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do.
Mercy.
This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. You know, I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us. Nobody. We don't want to have it. We don't have a discussion, but you read all and you see everything else. Nobody could have done that. Nobody has our weapons. Nobody has the quality of our weapons.
Okay. Beloved, it is clear.
I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one.
Just like Nebuchadnezzar. In this segment, I'm going to confirm now China. My friends, do you know how many hours I prayed over this? Do you know how many files I went back to? Scriptures I went back to? Let's go. This segment, China. A siege has been officially laid around China. It might not be with physical military personnel, but financially, China will fall. I'm predicting that right now. Will fall based on end-time prophecy on the screen. That's your scripture that confirmed that ancient Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, was used by God to lay siege around nations. Red words at the bottom. Last phrase. Nebuchadnezzar was to punish nations with the sword, with famine. Famine? A siege. You can buy, you can sell. Look at the screen right there. Why did Venezuela have to be taken out? Because Venezuela supports China with oil. Next, Iran. Quickly, Iran had to fall. There it is. Iran supplies China. China gets most of its oil from Venezuela and Iran. That's it. I covered that, my friends. Move on from that. And that's why I said before it happened, Iran has to fall. And I said also in January, China must fall. Just follow the end time prophecies, the current events. And that's what the book Education, page 178 says. We must know where we are today in the procession of the ages. All that will come to pass in the precise order. End time prophecies. Study it, my friends. Hours I spent poring over God's word, history, current events on the screen. Listen what this says. Tensions between China and Taiwan. Everybody in the comment section, learn this today. It's breaking news. Those of you who know, recall this today. Headline. It says, tensions between China on one side, Taiwan on the other side are at a high point. All right? Because China wants to reunify Taiwan. All right? My friends, right now, there is a war bubbling between China and Taiwan. China is communist, not Taiwan. Follow me carefully here. China wants to bring Taiwan back under its umbrella, just like Russia wants to re-annex, bring back Ukraine under its umbrella. But let's stay here with China and Taiwan. On the screen right now, big and bold preacher. It says the Vatican recognized Taiwan and not China. The Vatican is a significant geopolitical power because the Vatican is the only European entity that supports Taiwan and rejects China. Mercy. The Vatican rejects, quote unquote, one China principle. Last sentence in the red box on top. Listen, that's why China said the Vatican cannot appoint priests and bishops in China. That's ongoing. And not even the Jesuit Pope Francis. Not even the Jesuit Pope Francis was able to get China to bow and allow the Pope to appoint priests, bishops in China. China said no. If we are going to allow the Roman Catholic Church to be on our island, in our country, we will control the church. We will appoint priests and bishops. You see that, my friends? That is on the back burner. No one is talking about this. The Vatican despises China. That's it. On the screen. Not even a pope could get China to bow the knee. You may pause the video and read that. That's the issue. Continue here, my friends. And the papacy is now attempting to overtake China by using the Jesuits in the schools, the colleges in China. But that's working too slow. That's how Jesuits work. To overtake nations, work in the schools. And that's how you take over nations. Through education. The leopard, the spots. Leopard is Greece. Education, false wisdom, leopard, Jesuits. Some of you got it, some of you didn't get it. Let's move on. And that's why the Vatican must now use a military power to weaken China. Move on from that. On top, preacher, it says, yes, the Vatican officially recognizes Taiwan. And it is the only European sovereign state to do so. What? out of all the countries in Europe, the Vatican is the only one that recognizes Taiwan, which is saying the Vatican rejects China. Bullseye. Watch carefully here now. The Holy See, the Vatican, does not have an ambassador to China. No, doesn't have one. What does that mean? An ambassador from America to a nation connects that nation to America. The Vatican does not have an ambassador to China. None. So there's no connection, no control in China, no spies in China, except the Jesuits. That's the issue. And the Sunday law must be enforced in every nation. But China is repelling the Vatican. Let's pause right there. Safe to Serve Live. Are these things clear so far? If the points are clear so far, give me in the comments section these words: a nail in a sure place. N-I-S-P. A-N-I-S-P. A nail in sure places. That's it. Let's continue here, my friends. Let's continue. Watch carefully. Based on reports, I want you all to notice this. What nations are very hostile to the Vatican? What nations? Do you know North Korea and China top the list? North Korea and China, the most hostile against the Vatican. Hey, my brother, a preacher man, Google, does the Vatican have an ambassador to North Korea? Does the Vatican have an ambassador to North Korea? Come back here. Beloved, which of these two is really a threat to the Vatican? North Korea or China? North Korea or China? Which one? Come on, friends. It's China. Because China has the economics, the financial structure to challenge any nation. Not now. Not now. Not now. China. And that's why China has to fall. Continue. Big and bold preacher. Come back here, preacher. Come back here. Do you have a preacher? Oh, okay. So you have to go buy a computer and buy Google? Okay. Beloved, those who are live right now, does anyone know the date when China expelled the Jesuits? When China expelled the priests? When China expelled the bishops from the mainland? What year? Mercy. What year? Does anyone know? On the screen, preacher. On the screen. 1954. By 1954, China expelled the Roman Catholic leaders and made what was left of the Roman Catholics a state-owned church. That's it, my friends. Do you know how many hours of study and prayer went into this one, my friends? So now it's vengeance. The Vatican does not forget. As Abraham Lincoln said, come on, Jared, about Jesuits. As Abraham Lincoln said, the Jesuits don't forget. The priests do not forget. It's vengeance. It's retaliation, my friends. You mean you kicked us out? How dare China rejects the Roman Catholic Church? How dare? How dare you? Do you see it, my friends? And now you're seeing why the Vatican is using America to do its dirty work as payback to China. That's it. Now, hold on. I'm going to come now to STS Live, especially those who have been following yours truly, this platform for some years. Which other country expelled the Jesuits? expelled the priests, expelled the bishops from its island. Huh? From its island. From its island. Let's come to the new world. Which country? No, not France yet, David. I'll come to France later on. Not France yet. Not France. No, not North Korea. Give me a country. Not Portugal, Oscar. Come on. Parker, you nailed it. Violet. Merlene. Yes, it's Cuba. Cuba. Beloved, it all makes sense now. And what happened to Cuba recently? Does it make sense? And that is one reason why Trump crippled, overthrew Venezuela. What happened to Cuba next? Cuba had to fall. Mercy. Which sane person can ever challenge what I just said and win? You can't. China expelled the priests, Jesuits, and Bishop ones. This is retaliation. Cuba did so, and Cuba is now paying dearly for that. Watch carefully on the screen. There it is, friends. In 1961, Cuba expelled the Jesuits. That's it. And that was the Cuban Revolution. Anybody here from Cuba? Anybody here from Cuba? Let's continue here, friends. It's on the screen. By 1961, that's it. And notice, Obama eases the embargo on Cuba. Now, stop right there. Beloved, in this segment, I want you all to go back to our platform. And you will see I laid out this perfectly with Cuba. I can't give you all those talking points now. I just can't. Time is against me right now. If you go to the thumbnail, look for a thumbnail where I mention Cuba. In the same time with Venezuela and Cuba. It's either January 5, January 6, January 8, 12 or 13 this year, January, where I covered Cuba. All right? Go watch that. It's all there. Let's come, preacher. Come back here. Let's move on. Notice now, and it will tell you, let me go to a video here. Let me go to a video. Listen. This video, yes.
In Cuba, emotional scenes of celebration as prisoners released by the government return home. The gradual release of 553 prisoners was announced on Tuesday, just hours after the Biden administration said it would remove Cuba from its list of state sponsors of terrorism as part of a deal brokered with the Vatican.
It's clear. That is another nail in a sure place. America did what to Cuba? Because of who? Okay, friends, watch carefully. Since Biden administration lifted the embargo on Cuba, now they can trade, now they can buy and sell because of the Vatican. That means because of the Vatican, America can apply an embargo on nations. If, because of the Vatican, America released the embargo, remove the embargo, if it goes one way, that means it can go the other way. You can't challenge me and win with this, my friends. Much prayer and study went into this. It's clear. America does the filthy work of the Vatican. Continue here, friends. Go watch that video. And then Cuba, it says, deceived the Biden administration and deceived the Vatican. And that's why you see what happened with Venezuela. Yes, watch carefully now. Listen, I can't go through all the details. Listen now.
And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did.
Cuba is ready to fall.
Yes.
Yes.
Cuba looks like it's ready to fall. I don't know if they're going to hold out. But Cuba now has no income. They got all of their income from Venezuela, from the Venezuelan oil. They're not getting any of it. And Cuba literally is ready to fall. And you have a lot of great Cuban Americans that are going to be very happy about this.
It's clear. How many more evidences do you need? Do you know how many hours and prayer went into this, my friends? So what will happen to China? Continue.
You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America.
It's clear. Cuba is a communist country. What about China? China is a communist country. Cuba killed priests and nuns. So wait a minute. This is a religious war. China expelled the priests, the nuns, the Jesuits in 1954. So now Cuba is receiving the economic sanction by America from the Vatican. So what is going to happen to China? China days are numbered. On the screen. This was shocking when I saw this, my friends. Trump now says that Cuba can receive oil from Venezuela. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. What? Trump just said that Cuba can now buy oil from Venezuela. Question, who is now selling Cuba that oil from Venezuela? Come on, talk to me. Those who are alive. Who now controls the oil in Venezuela to now that Cuba can receive oil from Venezuela? Talk to me. That's it. Stella, that's it. Donetta, it's America. So now, when the Sunday law is enforced, it's clear. Cuba will not be exempt. If they don't go along with the Sunday law, then comes the embargo. You can't buy, you can't sell, you can't trade, you can't export, nor can you import as a nation and then as individuals. Let's continue. Chapter 13 of Revelation. What is said of the papacy? Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? But the papacy has no military. That's it. So based on that chapter in the Bible, who gives the papacy its military arm first? It is America. How many more evidences do you need to confirm? America is doing the dirty work of the Vatican, and China is next, and China must fall. Now stop right there. I am not saying that right now America will launch missiles, right, at China. I'm not saying that. If that happens, it is a collateral to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, economically, China must be brought much lower, has to fall. And that China will no longer be a threat to America financially. And lastly, China must bow to the Vatican. Must happen. Now just imagine, watch this, just imagine if America strangleholds China, right? And the Vatican steps in. I can solve it. I can solve it. China, if you restore us fully in your country, if you go along with these conditions, I will allow America to remove the stranglehold. You see it? It's coming, my friends. On the screen, look at the communist countries that don't have diplomatic relations with the Vatican. Look at the second red box. 4 countries: China, North Korea, Laos, And Vietnam. Vietnam War, anybody? Vietnam War? Vietnam War? One more time, Vietnam War? Notice, these are your countries, communist countries, that China, the Vatican, has no diplomatic connections. Which one is the most powerful? China has to fall. And why communist country? I'm not focusing on Islam right now. China. Why? In 1798, the politics that make up communism took down the papacy in 1798 in France. Yes. And chapter 11 of Daniel, verse 40 and verse 41, says the king of the north, the Vatican, with America, ships, yes, horses and chariots will come against these countries. It began in 1989, 1991. It's continuing now. China has to fall. I'm not asking you a question. I'm telling you, based on God's word, the more sure word of prophecy. I want you all to write down the book Education, page 178. Go read that. We as SDAs must be able to tell people where we are based on end time prophecy to the actual date and event. On the screen, fresh off the press. Here is China. It says it supports Iran. Do you see it now? It supports Iran because China knows it is the target. On the screen, my friends, I want to ask you a question. What was one chief reason why Trump said they must overthrow Iran? Come on, talk to me in the comment section. What was one reason why Trump says we must take out the Ayatollah? Come on. What reason? Okay, somebody asked, Rose, what about Russia? Russia is not communist. Russia right now, since 1991, is not communist. It was once communist, but since 91, it's not a communist country. Okay? All right, what now? Okay, Winsome. Over nuclear weapons. Thank you, Winsome. Over nuclear weapons. Who is this? Danette. On the screen. It says, Trump said, we must attack Iran to stop it from having a nuclear weapon. Really? Next sentence. This is the same president who said, Iran's nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Make it make sense. Trump once said, by the way, it's on the screen right there. When I read a post, preacher, when I read a post, I go fact checked. Here's why. I go fact check. Here's why. Many of these people on the media, do you realize they make statements and they don't prove them in real time? And many times when you go fact check what they're saying, it's a lie. By the time you realize it's a lie, it's too late. That lie has gone all around the world. And that's why when I read these statements and hear them speak, I fact check what they're saying before I, Andrew Enriquez, bring what they're saying to you. My credibility is on the line. I owe it to you, my family, safe to serve. So here is Trump saying, he obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. That was June 25, 2025. So how then in 2026, we have intel that Iran has nuclear weapons? You mean they rebuilt that nuclear facility within a few months?
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
The United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated.
Again.
We're going to annihilate their Navy.
Did you all catch the word again? Again? Why again? Beloved, let's come back here. Those who are live with me right now, which scandal is the media not talking about? Which scandal has almost been forgotten? Since Friday, America attacking Iran. Talk to me. Which scandal? Of course, Oscar. Sermon snippets. The Epstein files. The media has a blackout. All things Iran on the screen. Congressman Thomas Massey says, bombing a country across the globe won't make the Epstein files disappear. And that is his post. Whenever I read something, I go fact check to make sure he actually said that. My reputation is on the line. I owe it to you, my family. Safe to serve live. Move on from that. This is Catherine Austin Fitz. Again, I need to have a dialogue with her. What do you say, preachers? What do you say? Yes. Now she will confirm as I close. By God's grace, I'll give you part 2, part 3 next. This is my angle today, China. My angle. All right? She will tell you how dangerous this digital-only society is. Listen and weep what she says. Watch carefully. And why Iran had to go. And China, the BRICS nation, China must go down. Watch carefully.
What would be the effect if we wind up with digital programmable currency?
So if we wind up with a 100% digital system, no cash, no paper money.
We're moving there fast.
We're moving there, although we're trying to slow it down. So remember, if millions of Americans start using cash in size, it can absolutely revolutionize what happens. So I recommend it. But if we move there, then if I want you to not be able to leave your home, your money won't work if you leave your home. If I want you to only be able to eat certain foods, and if I want you to be able to eat foods made with insects and not be able to buy real meat, your money won't work to buy real meat. If I want you to take a vaccine a month and I mandate vaccines for you and your family, if you don't, I'll turn off your money. So I have complete control of your food, your healthcare, your spatial travel, everything. So you are no longer in a democracy or a democratic republic. You are in a slavery system. If I want your kids to leave their home and go to a boarding school where I control their education, if you don't agree, I turn off your money. I think it's very hard for people who've grown up and enjoyed Western liberty and human liberty to imagine literally that we're going into a system where literally our homes, our cars, our communities become digital concentration camps.
Mercy. Beloved, if you think we are not going to see another pandemic, you are in for a rude awakening. And just imagine if they now mandate every single person come and roll up your sleeve and get Babylon's prick, Babylon's sorcery, Babylon's needle in your arm, or else we turn off your money. Do you see how close we are to the end? And that's why I'm going to say, if we fail to plan, we are planning to fail. Implement the 5 keys of survival. 689.
And the reality, as the financial system gets more controlling and more invasive, it's a little bit like bringing up a corral around us. And CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, and vaccine passports or digital IDs are sort of the last shutting of the gate.
Mercy. It's the last shutting of the gate. That's why Iran had to go. Because the last nation, hold on, caller, 1 second. The last nation that is able to challenge America's world superpower status is China. That's the only one, not Russia. China has a more powerful economy than Russia. And the love of money is the root of all evil. And China is going to fall next. Mark it, book it. We are seeing the shutting of the gate on a macro level, a global level. Next is the individual level. It comes to us next. 5198. And what is their deadline? What is their deadline to shut this gate? To enslave the whole world? 2030 is their deadline. That's their deadline. Only God knows if He will allow it. Only God knows. That's the deadline. Same deadline from the papacy. 2030, no buy, no sell. Sunday worship by 2030. It's clear what time we're living in. And that's why, friends, just expect a global crisis, even a cyber crisis. Just imagine if a cyber attack were to take place, it would destroy China, shut down China. And imagine what the conditions would be to China, communist China. It has to fall. The king of the north must take down communism. It must happen. Must happen. Friends, I leave it there for now. I'll leave it there for now. And by God's grace, I want you all to go over the material. Everything I've said. Fact check everything I've said. Please. If you see its truth, live and share. We may never get this opportunity again because time is running out. And very, very soon, we will see every earthly support cut off on the macro level, on the micro level. It's time to implement the 5 keys of survival. But there's a promise in Isaiah 33 and verse 16. Our bread and waters shall be sure.